it going? So this is the introduction video for Project Milo. This is my Raspberry Pi project that I announced, I think it was over on Instagram like way back in January. I had most of it put together. I have a lot of video feed from there, and somewhere in the later stages of that project, my partner and I were talking, and just said a quick thing about, well, what if we wanted to do this, and it uh, totally took over. I was like, wow, that's a way better way to do it. And we redesigned the entire thing, and I am reassembling it now so I can start putting those videos back out. So, like I said, I announced it about 2 months ago. It's been a little while, but it is fully ongoing now, and I'm starting to put those videos out. The Raspberry Pi that I am using is Raspberry Pi 5. Um, this has the hat on top and the cooling fan in there, so yours may not look exactly like this, and then an SSD on top of it. So yours may not look exactly like that if you have one, but I chose the Raspberry Pi 5 for that particular setup. It has the single lane PCIe slot 2.0, so I can boot from that. I can run. It just gives you more space for storage and things like that. That is the SSD on that is a 4 terabyte SSD, which is voluminous, like way more than what we're going to need for this project. But when you see as it unfolds what we're doing with it, that's going to be a pretty relevant amount of space. As far as the Raspberry Pi itself, I have the 16 gigabyte version, but on all Raspberry Pis, I believe it's standard for the ARM Cortex A76 2.4 gigahertz processor, so it's pretty good. An 800 megahertz video core, I think it's video core 7 upgrade to the GPU. So it, I don't know, has a GPU. It can actually process and do things like that. Where I believe the 4 either didn't or wasn't very good. When I looked at it, like I said, mine is the 16 gigabyte, but there's like a 4, 8, or 4 and 8 gigabyte versions as well. It has the dual, there, here, I don't know if you can see them or how clean that's going to be, but it has dual, here and here and there, HDMI, 4K P60, which I think is like 4K at 60 frames per second video feed. So HDMI output through those micro HDMI. I'm not going to use those for it. It's going to be built into something entirely different. And so one of the videos I'm going to tackle is how to use Raspberry Pi without having like a screen or plugging in directly that way. It's a complex challenge. It's a lot of fun though. And so I will come to that probably. So the next few videos I'm going to put out are about the sensors that I'm going to put on, which I'll discuss what I'm talking about right now. And then right after that, I think the very first thing that I had to tackle was the screen, and so I'll put that up there. That's like I said, it's a really interesting process. So basically, and also sorry, on this, like Raspberry Pi comes with or has an operating system. I decided not to go with that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just wanted something I was 100% confident in could handle it, so I love Linux, and so I went with Ubuntu Server, the latest LTS, the long-term support version, which I think is 26 right now. It was 25 when I started the project, and then I just upgraded it, so I think it's 26 now. I'm not entirely sure. The latest Ubuntu Server. Like I said, I wanted to start off everything kind of easy. Just throw that on there. I know how to work with Linux. I can do a lot of this on top of it. It'll be really nice, and then we'll pair it back or upgrade it or do other things to it as we go. But essentially, what I am building is an expedition rig. This onboard computer, we'll call it, for an expedition rig. I have sensors going into it, barometric pressure and altitude, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. I have a Sense 55 or Sen 55 module, which does I think it's 2.5, 5, and 10 parts per million or microns, like particulate matter. Sorry, and what else? I have a UV A, B, and C. I think that's like the AS7331, and then the TSL 2591, which I think is the lux sensor or the light sensor. It doesn't do spectrum analysis, like it won't divide that, so it's just the amount of light and brightness that's out there. Altitude, barometric, all that. I have a heart rate monitor that I was going to connect to it, but the original design was in a wearable format that it is no longer being designed in. And so I am actually just gonna pair it with my heart rate monitor um, through Bluetooth for trekking and for other stuff like that. And so it's an expedition rig that is going to monitor the heart rate and I don't know, calorie input and atmospheric and other things like that, as well as the environment around the wearer, um, and do a lot of data tracking and other stuff. Like I said, that is the bare bones basic introduction to what we're gonna do. The first phase of the prototype in the next week or two. I think I should have those videos out. I may or may not. It probably won't take more than 2 weeks to get them all up and out and done editing. Um, and so, like in about 2 weeks' time, we will have made it through that first phase of it, and you'll see what it's becoming. Um, that is provided I get my 3D printer to work. I sure do love it, but it cannot find its own plate lately. And so I'm having to adjust the sensors and move things and do whatever. And I have not yet been able to print the case for the 3D for the Raspberry Pi yet. Um, so all of that is coming together nicely. And as soon as the case is printed, I'll show you the entire thing assembled. Um, and yeah, then we'll go from there. I have upgrades like future phases planned and other things like that for it. So what we're building right now in the next 2 weeks is really just the very basics. So stay tuned and enjoy. And this for me is a build along. The reason I'm putting it on the internet, and I'll be putting all the code and stuff like that on my GitHub when I get all that up and running for it. But the reason I'm doing this, I want this to be more of an expedition community kind of thing. I do a lot of hiking. My partner and I spent 9 months last year in South America. We have remote jobs. We just went and checked out South America. It was pretty amazing, actually. But in that adventure, we were way up in the Andes at one point, and then we were down at sea level. We were in some cities where the air was not necessarily the cleanest. We were in some cities that were absolutely pristine. And so as we were going on our adventure, we were like, I was always like, it'd be really nice to know. And when you're in South America and you look at things like the AEQ websites and stuff like that, they either aren't accurate, they don't know, they have absolutely no idea. It was pouring down rain one day. It told me the UV index was high and that it was sunny. So in places we have been, the websites and other things like that are not necessarily accurate. My phone has to connect to the website, has to connect to internet, has to connect to pretty much anything. And in certain countries, like when we were in Chile, for example, foreign phones don't really work there. You have to they have Movistar, which is really big down in South America. But in Chile, you have to have a specific number or a specific set of papers or whatever to actually have service anyway. And so a lot of foreigners don't have service there. And so using my phone and other things like that, I was like, nah, it would be really nice to have a portable device that was not, I don't know, an object you have to carry and hang on to, that wasn't a big deal, that didn't make a lot of extra trouble or weight or mess, and served a function. So there's a lot that this is going to do for us, in addition to just tracking the weather and tracking the expedition in general and our heart rate. So I hope you are, I don't know, as interested into this sort of thing as I am, and that you follow along. I would love it if some of you all would build this along with me. Like I said, the next video is going to be the Raspberry Pi itself and each of the pieces. And then the videos that follow that this week, I'll probably put up one a day or something like that, will be for each of the sensors. By the weekend, I'm hoping, next weekend, we should be into the video piece where I show you how I attached it without a screen and how I got all that done. So stay tuned, and I'm excited. I hope you are. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can support any of my projects through Buy Me a Coffee, and be sure to like and subscribe.